a couple of Zoroarks have snuck into top 32. In fact, quite a few didn't even sneak in. They were comfortably in. It's
Frank. I think Frank went in really close with 19 points, but now he actually won out. So he could have tied, but Juraj is it's a down pair. Not entirely sure why he didn't play against Mark. They're the two people with the most match points.
They've just started. Hopefully we get go over to the prize camera as soon as we can. Because it'll be interesting to see, because I think this is a matchup where you need a lot of parts on the side of the Garbodor deck in the right times and at the right places, just to be able to make sure that you can actually take these KOs. So we see Frank, he's playing the Mew EX, so that's one way he can deal with the Buzzwoles as they come up, but he's actually playing a 3-1 split of the Garbodor. I've seen 2-2 in Zoroark Garb as well, because people want to make sure they can establish Garbotoxin, but he's gone, look, it's all well and good getting the abilities turned off, but I just need a way of dealing with the Buzzwole. And there's nothing wrong with using Trash Match to do so. But it was just a Psychic, I think a single puzzle from Frank to change his deck, and then Juraj can just Rocklet Hill and off he goes. So, looking at the prize cards, we have kind of nothing significant.
Yeah, nothing too crazy.
For Juraj, something that's kind of unfortunate, I think he's only playing the one copy of Tapu Lele. So that being prized will make it a little bit more awkward to find supporters in the early game if he needs them. But it's not the end of the world. He's very much in a situation where, as long as he has supporters in hand for now, he should be able to kind of race through and kind of keep, get ahead that way.
Yeah, so, Juraj's list is really interesting because he plays Tapu Lele, Giratina. So 2 Pokemon and Regirock.
And the Mew from Fates Collide. Like, it's actually a pretty teched out list.
Yeah, I was just saying these 3 because you don't really want to start with either of them.
No.
So yeah, that's kind of annoying. But yeah, the Mew and the other cards allow him to have like more stuff that he can just easily bench. And his first turn's looking really nice. He gets the Beast Energy off. Professor Sycamore. He has to discard his Lycanroc. He only plays a 1/1 line.
And 1 Super Rod, I believe.
And 1 Super Rod as well, yes. And he plays 1 Multi-Switch, which is also kind of a cool card. You can move Beast Energy and Strong Energy to the active, and you can use, in theory, Mix Elixir and then switch to the active right away.
Yeah, it makes it much easier to power up the really important GX attacks in these games. You have access to your, it actually means you can completely surprise your opponent with the Lycanroc, because you can have no energy on it, you can multi-switch and attach at the same turn, so they think, right, this Rockruff's no threat, we'll leave it, we'll ignore it, and then suddenly, out of nowhere, it's taking a one-hit knockout. It looks like it's just, unfortunately, a pass at that point. The Diancie, it's a fairly strong board state with the Diancie and the Buzzwole. The Remoraid in the active is fine, because as soon as he finds the Octillery, we've seen time and time again this weekend, it's probably the single most valuable card in this deck in terms of drawing through, making sure you can find your PCs, because you are so combo reliant.
And Frank here, he played Mono Puzzle last turn, and now he used Brooklet Hill, which means that
they weren't very good.
They weren't good, yeah. This is really cool with like puzzles and Brooklet Hill in play, that you can, if you had to play a single one, even if all 3 of them are not good, yeah, you can shuffle and then
and hope you find
another double, another Mono Puzzle.
Yeah, it looks like a very slow start. Zoroark decks aren't used to having slow starts like this, I think it would be fair to say.
Yeah, they initially don't really want to have a start like this. He goes for a Guzma, attaches to Mew, and he copies
the Acid Spray.
And if he flips heads, it would be really cool. Because then he can get rid of the Beast Energy. And nice! Alright.
So, and the weakness is 20 damage, which is actually quite a nice little bit of chip damage early in the game as well. But getting rid of the Beast Energy, that is now gone for the game, because as a Prism Star card, it goes to the loss, and when it's discarded as opposed to the discard pile. Not that any of the lists I think we've seen this weekend have played any special charge at all. I think we've all very much gone for the, look, once our special energy are gone, they're gone. We'll live with this.
Yeah, and now, even though Frank started not looking really well, he is doing the best out of it, using Juraj's turn now, using Brooklet Hill for Buzzwole. His hand is looking really, really stacked.
It looks like he has a big old turn 2 coming out if he wants it.
Oh yeah. It's Mix Elixir, Ultra Ball, Professor Sycamore, from what I think.
So I think he's there just double checking. He's like, yeah, I have some things I want to put back. Super Rod before playing the Elixir makes a lot of sense here. He's actually slightly increasing his odds by putting 1 energy back. He also put 1 non-energy back as well, so didn't change them too much. But you know, these are the little decisions.
Yeah, and also playing the Ultra Ball first. The best way to do it here.
You know, you can see that these are why these players can make it to these stages. That you can. It's the little things that going right. Okay, we Super Rod first. We Ultra Ball. We can Brooklet Hill. We'll make sure that our odds of doing what we want to do this turn are as high as physically possible.
Well, and Juraj actually didn't search his deck for Artillery, which is probably a card a lot of people would have went for, but he goes for a Mew Fates Collide, which is able to take the knockout on Mew EX. With it has a choice band, and Buzzwole is in play. And it is, so Juraj has a Buzzwole GX, so he can copy the Hammerhead.
The Jet Punch.
Yeah, Jet Punch. To deal 60 on the active, then with weakness it's doubled. So he just needs a Float Stone. And here we see he didn't went for the Artillery because he already had the energy and choice band in his hand, so he couldn't really risk.
And he draws the Ultra Ball, so he can actually go and get it anyway.
Yeah, he doesn't have a Float Stone yet. And his hand actually looks like something you don't really want to discard, so...
I think he does have the Float Stone. He does have the Float Stone. This is a huge turn.
Crazy, yeah.
Of just finding literally everything he needs, sets the Jet Punch up, takes a moment to have a little round of applause for one of the other winners. Finds another Elixir. This is like, we talk about this deck that can go slow and can kind of grind games out, set things up for KOs, but it's also very capable, and probably the most capable deck in format, of just having entirely explosive turns where you go from an okay board state to, right, okay, I'm set up now, you have to deal with this. The Mew, actually a really interesting inclusion in the list in general. Clearly expecting a lot of the Mirror this weekend, very well suited for the Mirror, but actually also hits there's a lot of Psychic Weak stuff as well, including most of the text against Buzzwole.
Yeah, that's so weird, because Psychic Pokemon often are Psychic Weak as well, so I really hate that, actually, because it makes... Yeah, you know, like the best Mew counter is another Mew, and then you counter.
And then it's the old Mewtwo wars from years ago, right?
And every counter against Buzzwole is also a counter against Buzzwole counters. So the Mew, like it can hit Hoopa for weakness. It can hit almost every Buzzwole counter for weakness and Buzzwole. Yeah, so it's a really, really weird card. And now Frank, with the Puzzle of Time, he was able to grab a Cynthia. But now again, if this Garbodor gets knocked out, he has nothing going, so he's kind of forced to play the Ultra Ball. So he could either go for Tapu Lele if he has to, but yeah, he seems to have a supporter card in his hand already, so he can just grab the Zoroark and use Treasure Land for knockout to draw his third Puzzle of Time from the prize cards.
Yeah, but at this point you've already gone through most of them. You're at a point where you can't get as much value, you can't reuse your pieces as you go. And one of the big things that these decks need is...
And to place another mono puzzle.
Oh no, so that's basically the end of the puzzles for today.
Yep.
So yeah, it's a very tough time, because one of the things that Zoroark decks do is they have access to so many resources, and they get to reuse their resources, unlike most other decks that actually have to use all 3 puzzles before you even get to use any cards you want to grab. Is really unfortunate.
Yeah, but also you have to keep in mind, Frank just needs to tie here.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, like we said, he wanted to ID originally, but he got down paired, so his opponent can't ID currently. So a tie for him is also as well, which is like, usually you would say, yeah, you can just scoop to save the time. But for Frank it doesn't matter if he wins or if he ties, so he can just play it out and see, maybe he gets lucky.
But at the same time, we're seeing that both sides of the board are in the positions where they need a little bit of luck in terms of their setup. You know, you need to make sure you see your elixirs. You need to be able to hit your... finding that Float Stone was huge, so we could get the Mew into the active to deal with the Mew EX, because otherwise Frank had potentially a way of dealing with a couple of Pokemon very quickly if he could get to the Zoroark. But now, its current board state, Juraj doesn't need anywhere near as much. With the 30 damage already on the Garbodor, strong energy already in play, he's getting close to being able to take a couple of prizes very quickly. He's still slightly short of the KO. He would need I don't think there's any way in his deck. I don't think he's playing the Regirock or anything to boost his
Yeah, he
damage
does
further.
play one Regirock.
But I think he's still slightly short, even with the Regirock here, to take the one-hit knockout on the Garbodor. But he's getting very close to having a basically perfect setup from the Garbodor.
Yeah, but in theory, if he hits another Elixir, he could also just use
Knuckle Impact
Knuckle
or
Impact.
Absorption at this point. You know, he's far enough ahead that it's likely the Absorption's not going to take many more KOs, especially because anything that Frank puts down next turn is going to be Dark Weak. You know, his fighting weak is going to be the Zorua in the active. He knows he doesn't need the damage later on.
Yeah, the only thing, like, you might save it for a Zoroark, but of course, yeah, taking twice in a row, it's a really good trade, especially knowing that it's really unlikely for the Buzzwole to get knocked out next turn. Yeah, currently the Jet Punch is at...
I think it's 10 short.
It's currently at 70 damage,
Yeah.
which means you're 20 short, so with Regirock it would still be 10 short.
Yep.
Which is why Juraj, he has a Regirock in his hand, but considers not benching it, but he does bench it anyways.
Well, so I think the reason here is it means that he can start jet punching for KOs and Zoroarks. He gets to the point where with the weakness he actually is in a position to jet punch a Zoroark with a choice band and strong energy.
Oh, and he got the Elixir, last card of the Symphia. Does he hit a basic fighting energy?
He does.
Oh,
he does. Last card.
And Frank is just like, you...
He's like, I've flown all the way over here for you to hit the Elixir on the last card.
Not just, he flew over here to win enough games to get top card, and then get down paired,
And then hit the Elixir.
So weird. But yeah, and Juraj also thinking about, I can just GX and then attack again. Goes for the GX. Attack or not?
Oh no, he's... he went for it. He wasn't sure there, but with Frank's board state, he needs an awful lot. Like, at least the Zoroark can come down, but can be one-shot really easily. Putting Euro down only to one prize card remaining.
So Frank is able to draw a Tapu Lele and got a Zoroark. The Zoroark will be knocked out next turn, but I think we talked about this already. He can, in theory, he can swing back. Once the active Buzzwole is knocked out and Garbotoxin is in play, without artillery, Buzzwole is really vulnerable to N.
And something that Frank will always have access to, and something that everyone who's playing Garbodor has, is the ability to play both N and Garbotoxin in the same turn. Especially with Juraj taking such a big lead, there's a very big chance that he can just go, right, I'll N Garbotoxin, you'll get down to one card, I can take a KO back if I get the trash lines online. It becomes much more difficult for Juraj at that point.
Yeah, so in theory, if he hits a great next turn, which would be both Garbs, Energy and Tool, which is a lot to ask for, that would be, like a way for him to win.
So,
and he could also, it would also bypass the Buzzwole.
Yeah, it would be a nice way to skip the
Sledgehammer time,
well, this is something that the Buzzwole decks have a big problem with, is a lot of their cards are designed for very specific and very narrow windows. So players who are very good at playing against it find ways of manipulating the prizes to keep that as short a period as physically possible. You know, taking that single prize knockout early in the game is actually perfect in these situations because it puts you down to 3 prize cards if you manage to KO a single GX. So that was, I think, another Ultra Ball.
He just benched the Lele and goes for... he has Garbodor in play, he goes for an N.
And he does already have the N in hand, so now he just needs to see Floatstone and the Garb and the energy.
Yeah, but just a Floatstone would still be fine because he used Juraj used Knuckle Impact, which means that he will most certainly not be able to reset it. He would have to either retreat.
He'd have to draw into exactly Guzma, I think, in this situation.
Yeah. If he gets the Guzma,
it's always
rip.
Yeah, it's always over.
And Frank, it does not look like he has a tool. He can Ultra Ball for Zoroark.
And try and trade into the tool, but then he leaves himself with a very low hand size. Not ideal when you're about to lock your own abilities out.
Yeah,
he's going for it anyway because I think he knows that he's far enough behind in this game that taking these risks is the only way he manages to make his way back in.
Yeah, so he evolves. Only 2 hand cards left, discards a Field Blower, and he gets... Is it Choice Band?
I think one of them was.
Yeah, and he dashed to Choice Band and evolves the active
But
one.
he's only the energy short of the ideal turn there, I think.
And Juraj has 2 B-strings at his hand, oh boy.
So he's actually in a position where he can he's just going to have to pass this turn.
Yeah.
But if it wasn't an energy, I think that was, or a way to get to the energy.
And another N on Frank's hand.
And he does have, but
He also has
the
a kick jump, this is perfect.
Yeah.
Because like Juraj, he had 2 B-strings in his hand, so if Frank had the energy, takes a knockout, then Juraj can
just grab out
use
the
Brooklet Hill, play 2 B-strings, and take the knockouts.
But here, Juraj's now having to really weigh up his decisions. He really, I don't think the Regirock is super helpful. You only need to take a single prize. The extra 10 damage here is really not going to help you in any way. Especially with the Choice Band, you should be fairly straightforward to find things you need, even though you do only have 1 card in your hand.
Yeah, but now Frank still needs the energy card. He already has 2 in his discard pile, and he does play 4, so not too likely. He cannot use trade. Yeah, so let's see if he's able to turn this around. No.
He does have the Field Blower.
The Field Blower would make, but Knuckle Impact steals the 180, which is enough to knock out every Pokemon.
Yeah, no, but the thinking is that he can Field Blower his own tool, trade, and if he manages to hit the energy, he can at least take the KO.
Yeah,
so,
that's true.
Yes, Juraj is in a position where he can then at least maybe Abyssal Hand to draw cards, but if he doesn't see the energy, it's looking pretty shaky. He doesn't have a Float Stone, so at least he can re-establish the lock, but I think it's still over at that point. Yep,
yeah, okay.
Then he's just gone, right, didn't see the energy, there's no way to finish this game out. So we do see that it's actually a really interesting matchup because both sides need their abilities. But Juraj really relies on them early game to get the damage so he can kind of control the board a little bit. Whereas Frank needs it kind of throughout the game and finding the right turns to Garbotoxin. I think he was kind of forced into it on that turn to find the Garbotoxin is pretty skillful. It's a pretty tricky thing to do.
Yeah, this game took quite a long time.
Yeah.
Frank took every second out of the game that he could. And now he just needs to basically win 1 game here. You had the wrong the ticker. It's not Frank, but Juraj won. Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah, that's right. Here we go. So yeah, we're in a position now to see Frank's looking just to take 1 game, and we know that we saw it in the other games. He had a really slow start and was still in a position where if he found the Psychic Energy, he was actually okay there. So if he has a slightly better start, with a bit of luck, Frank can establish a board that actually is difficult for Juraj to run through. The high non-GX Buzzwole count is not really a problem for these Zoroark decks. It's not actually a problem here because I think Juraj's only playing the 2 non-GX Buzzwole, if I remember his list. Yeah, he's only playing the 2. So whilst a lot of people have been scared off of playing Zoroark because there were 3 and 4 counts in Madison, Juraj's actually gone the other way. He's reduced it, probably expecting a slightly smaller amount of Zoroark, and knowing the Zoroark matchup was fine without it, which could still be a way that Frank has a way of kind of squeaking through a game.
Yeah, he has a really weird list. Only 2 non-GX Buzzwole is not really what you usually see in these decks. And he plays, but he plays 3 B-string, 4 Max Elixir.
But something he is doing is he's actually managed to find space for 8 draw supporters. Most of the other lists are playing between 6 and 7. Finding the space for the 8th is actually really nice.
Which do you mean?
So his draw support, I think he has 8 in total.
Yeah. So with 2 N.
Yeah. So he actually has fairly good outs to draw supporters. I know a lot of lists are kind of saying that it's pretty difficult to kind of squeak through and find supporters, especially in the early game.
Yeah.
When you really need them before you get your Octillery established. But Todd did, mention when he was in the players interview, this is one of the few decks where you can actually afford to miss a supporter for a turn and still keep tempo.
Yeah, exactly. You just need energy. It's like with these decks, these kind of decks that just play like basic and energy cards. If you dead draw,
you still
all cards you have, you can still use them
Yeah.
somehow, like unless it's like only Beast Ring or something like that.
Yeah, so to really dead draw with this kind of deck, you need to have no energy and one of your Pokemon that can't really attack. There's a couple, but there's not that many. So there's a chance that they are in a position to kind of steal games through just really early pressure, even if they don't have optimal starts. Though, obviously, in the last game, Juraj did have a really good start. He managed to find a couple of elixirs, found that float stone to attack with the Mew to KO the Mew EX, basically meaning that Frank was already behind and, having already used his puzzles, had no way to recover the tech that he had included in order to try and tilt this matchup in his favour. It is kind of a tricky thing here, though, because you know, if Frank gets a better start, he may have access to Garbodor slightly earlier, the ideal situation. I think that was a trubbish start, though, which is probably not what he was hoping for. So we will see if Frank is able to get his game plan going. So it'll be interesting to see how he actually intended on playing this matchup. We see a trubbish start from Frank against a Rockruff from Juraj, and the Mew from Fate's Guide is already on the bench, already threatening to be kind of a terrifying card. It was just a Choice Band and a Psychic to the active Trubbish, and then an N into a fresh hand. Looks like Frank's hands haven't been as consistent as we're used to seeing some Zoroark decks be.
Yeah, but his start is fine. I mean, usually you want, of course, a Bridget, but this time he has a supporter card.
Yeah, it's better than last time.
Definitely better than last time.
The prize cards, the really interesting thing is that Octillery is prized for Juraj. So it was only a 1/1 line.
Yeah, I don't know why you would ever play 1/1 line, to be honest. It's so important.
I think it was. I think so. For a lot of people, it's space is the word they will always use.
Yeah, but I mean, like you can also play a deck with without Octillery to make space for other stuff. But it's so important, and if you like, it's a 10% chance to prize a one-off. So you have I don't know. From the top of my head, potentially like 17% to prize either of them, something like that. Which means that you will have a lot of games where you just don't have access to it. Mm-hmm. And in the mirror match,
it's so important.
Not just in the mirror match, but in a lot of matchups, like this should be an important target. So if one of them gets knocked out, you have to Super Rod to get the other one, and then get that out this way. So kind of weird. Usually, all the other decks can just use Brooklet Hill again, and then have the second one.
So Frank there played the Lele down the turn early to grab the Bridget, which is normally an indication that his hand may not be ideal. He may be just kind of going, look, if you end me out of this, I'm kind of happy, the hand's not great. But he's also aware that with the Mew on bench, it doesn't actually require that much to kind of get into a position of this Trubbish could go down pretty quickly. He wants to have a backup Pokemon just in case. And because with a DCE, if Juraj does attach to the Mew, he can just come in, poke it away with Energy Drive.
Yeah, but I mean he has to bench something because
it's so
likely the Trubbish will get knocked out here, especially like Juraj now. He just needs, yeah, I mean Buzzwole, Diancie, and Strong Energy.
Something along those lines. Yeah, that'd be enough. 70 HP. Actually, earlier on in the season, before Diancie Prism Star was released, 70 HP was actually a super difficult thing for Buzzwole's decks to hit.
Yeah,
you had to rely on like double Regirock, which was just, you could do it first turn, but it became so much more awkward, and 2 bench spaces. Diancie has been a huge boon for this deck, being able to kind of get to those numbers just that little bit easier, a little bit earlier.
Yeah, now you are going for Ultra Ball, Lele on Cynthia.
Yeah, so this time not prized.
Yeah, this is looking already a lot better for Frank in this game. Juraj doesn't really have such an exploding start. No Professor Sycamore, just goes for the Cynthia. Professor Sycamore is also a really important card in this deck because it just digs through so much. Cynthia always puts bad cards back in the deck again, and you could redraw them, which, yeah, Professor Sycamore doesn't, but of course it also keeps the good cards around.
Yeah, it's like cards that he knows he can't really afford to use too many of early game, wants to make sure he has access to them. And that's actually one of the reasons why the Zoroark decks very rarely ever play Sycamore. There are 2 copies in Frank's list, but the Sycamore is not as necessary because you can get rid of the bad cards through trade, and you don't need to draw as many cards off your supporters because you have access to the 2 off of trade anyway. So he doesn't have the strong energy, so it looks like the...
yeah, he goes for Brooklet Hill. The Ramrite already saying hello, but he will soon realize, clear his price anyway, so probably another Pokemon will fit that spot a lot better. So non-GX Buzzwole hitting the bench here.
It's actually a much, from Frank's side, this is much better. Yes, that's a really established board from Juraj, but there's no Ramrite on there, which will tell Frank one of the 2's not in deck, which is great because it means that he can be a little bit more aggressive. Doesn't need to use the Garbotoxin Garbodor quite as early. There's also only the Rockruff inactive, so should he be able to KO that Rockruff, he gets a position where actually the ability lock is much less valuable for him. I think he had another Lele and a Psychic at least in hand, I saw there.
Yeah, his hand is really big, and he gets a Bridget, so...
That's the one he grabbed with the Lele last turn.
Yeah,
so.
He can definitely do something this time. Depending on his hand, looks like. Yeah, another card which is quite cool for the deck is Mysterious Treasure. We haven't seen one yet, but it can give you a Layla, so it gives you a higher chance of getting turn 1 Bridget, and of course Trubbish and Garbodor. Yeah, so Mysterious Treasure at this point currently is just a search deck for a Psychic Pokemon. Like Ultronic Crossma is the only deck that would ever search for a dragon.
Yeah, but that might change with the next set. There are a few good dragon types in the next set, so then we might get into a position where you see it actually searching for dragons as well. But yeah, right now it's actually a really good card for Garbodor decks because they do struggle to draw cards. But so having the ability to just go grab the single Psychic attacker that you want or the Garbodor when you need it is actually a really nice luxury.
Yeah, and Frank benching 2 Zoroark and 1 Trubbish. And again playing a mono puzzle. Let's see if he opts to shuffle afterwards this time.
This time he's actually looking at his hand off the mono puzzle, which normally means at least one of these is okay. Trying to work out. Okay, so yeah, so because there's no ability Pokemon in play other than the Mew is something he does need to be aware of. That's another actual useful ability to turn off for him. But the Mew is the only ability Pokemon in play that he really needs to worry about, so he actually can be kind of aggressive and go, right, these are going to be 2 Trash Launch Garbodors for this game. Especially with already 3 items in the discard from Juraj.
Yeah, so Juraj has a Beast Energy, and he has Lycanroc in his hand.
I think the other card's a Sycamore? Yes.
Seems to be a Sycamore.
So he's weighing up.
He does not use it, so he's trying to knock out the Trubbish. Now with his Beast Energy and Diancie in play, he definitely has enough. And
he did see the Floatstone on the last card.
He does have a Floatstone, so he can definitely retreat. They take the Trubbish, get some damage off, probably the other Trubbish, just to make sure he can knock it out, or potentially he can also just put it on a Zoroark. It's a bit greedier, but if the Buzzwole gets knocked out, then Juraj can just use Sledgehammer. But with 30 on the Trubbish, oh wait, actually with the Beast Energy and a Strong, this might also be a knockout. Yeah, so he puts 30 on the Trubbish. If it evolves, it has 90 HP left. Currently Buzzwole deals 80. So with either, Regirock cannot be played, so with the Strong Energy, Juraj could use another Jet Punch for the knockout.
There's not many items in the discard pile for Juraj. It would require, I think, Frank to have the Field Blower to be able to pick up the KO with the Trash Launch. But if he's able to do that, that's actually a quite nice response. Yes,
with the Field Blower, there would be 4 items.
Plus the Choice Band already on, which would take it to KO.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, you're in a situation where it actually, if he can hit the Field Blower, he's actually pretty happy. He's also extra happy because it means that he can get rid of the Floatstone off the Lycanroc, which means that there's no. He still has the Mew, so it's actually not so important. He still has the free retreater to promote.
Yeah, but let's see if Frank Diaz is able to get the the Field Blower. He plays 3 of them, so
he still has.
It should be a high chance.
He still also has,
and also he has a trade available.
Yeah, he's used the trade for the turn, I think.
Oh really?
But he could still draw another Zoroark and trade that way.
So let's see, he has a Treasure, another Psychic Energy, and Mew EX.
And I think I saw a Trubbish in there as well. He's actually only playing a 3/3 Zoroark line, Most of the Zoroark decks play a 4-4-4, but because of the fact that you have to dedicate quite a lot of space for tools in this list compared to the normal lists, so you can keep your Garbotoxins active, and the fact that you don't always have trade, they're not as useful, so you can actually, he's gone for the thinner line of 3-3.
And Frank plays Felicity. It would have been funny if Juraj just discarded the Lycanroc, but of course it doesn't really make sense. And now Frank seems like he doesn't have the Field Blower, otherwise he would probably just
thrown it down.
Yeah, play it down.
Actually, so if he did the ability to do the Parallel City, then the Field Blower, it would have actually been perfect. Because in this situation, Juraj's probably, I think kicking the Mew is probably the smart choice here, because as soon as the ability gets shut off, it's kind of difficult. Then Field Blowering the the Floatstone off of the Lycanroc would have then caused a few problems. But as it is, the Buzzwole survives the turn with 10 HP remaining.
Not really good, especially because there is no way to deal spread damage.
No, these decks. Other lists do play Coco because they need the free retreat, but this one is just like, I play enough Floatstones. We'll find a way of retreating some way.
You have to play 4 Floatstones, or he actually plays 3. Yeah,
it's a 3-3 tool split. Yeah.
So Coco is just you'd rather play 4 Floatstone than a Coco, but still. Neither of them help a lot against Buzzwole, so you probably don't.
It's not very often you're in a position where you have to do it for exactly 10 damage, not enough. You're a deck that's used to drawing enough cards that you can almost always find everything you need. The Buzzwole in the active is, I think, just shy of KO. Yeah, because with only the 30 on, I think he's also 10 short in response. If I'm correct, that should be 30, 60, 80 damage, but now he's not, so now he actually is able to take the KO. And we'll see what it is. So we'll be able to hopefully, took the KO on this Garbotoxin. In doing so, hasn't had to play any more items down. That's actually the really nice thing. In doing so, so he's avoided needing the extra items in discard. He still obviously play the Elixir. He does need to find energy this turn, so that he can respond with the Sledgehammer when the Buzzwole does get KO'd. Because even at this point, an Acid Spray from that Trubbish with the Psychic Energy is actually enough to take the knockout on the Buzzwole. So there's basically no way the Buzzwole doesn't get KO'd next turn. So he's preparing his response. But that Elixir has now meant that he's actually in range of Trash Lunch KOing the Buzzwoles with... They still need the Choice Band, but he's getting close to straight knockouts with Trash Lunch.
Yeah, so we just see the Cynthia. Juraj still, if he wants to take the knockout with Jet Punch, he needs a strong energy. If he doesn't... with the Rage Rock, with the Rage Rock he doesn't, true. Yeah, so I was talking about earlier that he cannot bench Rage Rock because his bench is full, but because Frank kicked the stadium and then Juraj kicked it again, he is able to use it, so perfect math.
He knows at this point he's kind of in a position where he can one-shot basically anything that Frank promotes. And this is the big thing for these decks, is that it's very difficult to kind of keep up with the amount of pressure that Buzzwole puts up. All he's really got on here is a Beast Energy, and he's got a couple of Pokemon on the bench to help boost the damage, and it's now doing 90. And it gets very close to taking KOs, or is able to finish off anything it manages to put 30 on very efficiently, which becomes really tricky to deal with. It's very annoying to have to play against.
Yeah, so Frank used one trait, and now he's thinking quite a lot. He needs to evolve the active Trubbish. He has a Mew in his hand, and he has a Mysterious Treasure, so he will definitely be able to take the knockout, but it won't really.
So I think here
so nice,
his option.
Right? Oh wait, he can just use Acid Spray.
Yeah, so I think his option here is to evolve the bench Trubbish if he wants to evolve this turn.
He has no supporter.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this way, at least he can use the Acid Spray. He can also use the Field Blower this turn to get rid of the Brooklet Hill and the Floatstone. Again, so there is now no free retreat for Juraj after this knockout. But also now, crucially, there are 5 items in the discard pile, which means that Acid Spray is always a one-hit KO on the Buzzwoles. So you know, I think it's the first time I've seen Acid Spray for a knockout this tournament. It's actually kind of a nice attack. It's basically an enhanced hammer and an attack, which sometimes if you have to use it, it's actually kind of nice.
Crushing hammer.
Crushing hammer,
yeah,
that's it.
Sure.
So like you saw it in the last game, knocking away the beast energy. It's actually quite nice. You know, if you have to use one, it's not too bad.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't really help last game, but
it's still a nice.
It's still a nice thing to have. Better than
some of the other attacks,
like the Rockruff, like 2 energy 50 and tail, you do nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Frank attached the double color energy card to his Tapu Lele GX, and now UI has to discard his Buzzwole. Frank just going for an Acid Spray. UI can definitely take the knockout on the Trubbish, but it doesn't really.
He's like, I don't think he flipped the. He hasn't used his GX attack this game. Definitely hasn't used his GX attack this game.
No, he didn't.
So
Jet Punch.
So
twice,
that's
right.
Yeah. So the prizes he took were on a knockout on a Garbodor with Jet Punch last turn, and the one before. So he definitely hasn't. There wasn't free energy on a Buzzwole. There's no energy on the Lycanroc. So there's no way he used it.
Yeah, he.
So yeah, it's definitely fine. Another kick for the camera.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll have to go sort this out, I guess, between rounds.
It's still all in frame, so we are good. Yeah, so Juraj just promotes the... whatever, it doesn't matter. Yeah, so Juraj promotes the Buzzwole.
There are 4 prizes left, which is actually really nice. You can take the KO on this rubbish, leaving Frank having to find energy and Trash Lanch to be able to do something as opposed to just one of the two. And the attachment to the Lycanroc I also really like here, because Lycanroc, when it's fully set up, just runs through Zoroark decks. It's very, very difficult to stop, especially when there's not that many items played. Juraj can now switch to playing pretty conservatively in terms of his items. There are 5, I believe.
Yeah, I like Lycanroc a lot as well because of the weakness, so it's not weak to Psychic Pokemon.
It's actually a really nice card in these lists. Kind of just deals with everything Buzzwole struggles to deal with.
Yeah, so now Frank discards a field blower using trade. Juraj is making sure that they keep track of how many trades
it's
have
actually
been used.
A lot of ways of doing it. There's people who can rotate it. People can rotate. I've seen people kind of like they do in other card games where you like rotate it once you've used it. Some people prefer using coins. Just because it's a very, it's useful to keep track of exactly what you've done.
Yeah, now Frank's searching his deck for another Zoroark. He kind of needs to get the knockout here, and that would still put him in a fairly decent spot because, Juraj has no artillery in play. And if he doesn't have an energy, cannot take the knockout.
So,
but if he has an energy, then he can still keep up with the tempo, use GX attack to take 1 knockout, and then 1 additional energy with the Lycanroc. He will be able to use the second attack, the normal non-GX attack, which is 110, so it's a knockout on all Zoroarks, and with the strong energy and the Yancy in play, is also able to knock out Tapu Lele and Mew.
It becomes a case of Frank really has to take a prize just to get away from 4. He doesn't really care, he didn't really care where the prize comes from, I don't think. He just needs to take 1 to get away from that kind of really risky zone. It does mean that the Lycanroc can come in, could actually GX attack. I think the very likely play for us to see would be a GX attack into it to take the KO. And then that basically means Juraj is 1 attachment away from being able to take KOs on basically whatever he wants to take out the last 2 prize cards. So we see another Ultra Ball, I think that was. Making sure that he can basically thin as many things from his deck as he physically can. Probably also looking here for what things am I not using this game. Like, there's no Trubbish in play. I think it's a bit late to be trying to set up a Trubbish at this point. There's no bench space anyway. Maybe I need to just get rid of this Garbodor.
Yeah, and also Frank is not able to take the knockout on the Buzzwole here. The swing around currently dealing 100 damage for double tails, which is still quite strong if he flips either heads or gets a... Oh yeah, 110, true.
Yeah.
Or gets a strong energy, that's a knockout. So quite likely that the Garbodor will get down. And Juraj's hand is actually really strong. He has all the energy he needs.
So
Frank retreats now. Kind of hurtful taking with the Mio, because he knows this Mio will get knocked out by the GX attack from Juraj now. And that should be really difficult position for Frank. I don't know exactly how many item cards are in Juraj's discard pile, but 210 damage is a lot to deal. And he didn't play Beast Energy yet. He didn't play Beast Rings yet. Not too many Ultra Balls, not too many Max Elixirs. He just needs to attack, use GX, and then Frank is in a really problematic position.
Yeah, so I don't know if there are 8 items, because you need 8 in a Choice Band. It's unlikely you can get the Choice Band because you need Field Blower plus Choice Band to switch the Float Stone off the Garbodor.
So he needs 9.
You need 190 because of the fact there's already 10 damage on the Lycanroc.
Ah, okay, I didn't.
So you'd be in a position to just, take the knockout. But then we just see a very quick turn.
And with a Field Blower, he can also put a +1, so you have 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 5 energy. 5 item cards in the discard pile. Maximum of 6. That's not enough.
So, just see trade.
Is there any way for Frank to take the knockout here? He can only play N and hope.
Yeah, but even then...
Yeah, I mean, it's still really likely for Juraj to get at least anything.
Yeah, he needs a single energy.
Like, just thinking about, he would have to retreat Tapu Lele, then use Energy Drive and play N. This seems to be the strongest play here.
Ideally, he'd want to be trying to Choice Band the Lele, so at least it's a 2-shot.
Yeah.
I think I saw the Choice Band in hand, though, so that does look like it could be an option.
Another trade.
I think that was Frank's deck getting very thin. I don't think that was I've just drawn a Sycamore. Do I have space to be able to Sycamore and not deck out? Check, which for Juraj is very much not a problem. Because of the fact that he hasn't got the Abyssal hand out, even though it's now in the deck. So there's just a case of trying to find a way of, I think, it's not so much, it's trying to find a way to just escape this game. It's more staying in the game at this point than trying to win it, unfortunately for Frank.
Yeah.
Rescue Stretcher Ring, you're taking another Trubbish. I'm trying to see his hand, see what his options are. Does have the band.
Does have the Choice Band, but
I don't think he has the N.
Juraj has Guzma.
And he just
says,
alright, that's it.
So
Juraj
really sad games.
Yeah, they were pretty close to Frank being able to turn them around at various points, but just something that's very rare for Zoroark decks, just missing the card. It's so